Good morning, 8th grade. So today we're going to continue with our analysis of The Treasure of Lemon Brown by Walter Dean Myers. Yesterday you should have read the entire story and annotated it to understand just your basic comprehension of what happened, our characters, our setting, and our different characters' points of view. So after reading it that first go around, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing some close reads to really understand point of view and how authors develop point of view. So as I'm going through this video, please annotate along with me. Please fill in your notes here as well as our boxes here. So the first thing that we're going to fill in is our strategies for developing point of view. And what this means is what are the ways that authors develop characters' points of view so that we understand who the characters are, so that we understand the events of the story, so that we understand how the characters interact with each other. One of our biggest strategies is inner dialogue. That's the conversation inside of a character's head. And the reason that that's so important is because that gives you the thoughts and feelings of the character. So what is going on inside their head? How are they feeling about what's happening? Another big one is dialogue, which are obviously conversations between characters. And the reason why this is so important is because the way that characters talk and what they say is really important in understanding who a character is. Imagine if somebody was trying to get to know you. One of the biggest things that they would do is have a conversation with you, which is why dialogue is such an important part of building a point of view. Another strategy are by showing actions, reactions, and interactions. So that's what a character does, how they respond to others, and then how they interact with each other. And the reason that that's so important is we can tell a lot about a person based on the way that they talk to other people, the way that they interact with other people, the way that they respond to situations. Other ways that this can be developed is through just description of characters, whether that's physical or whether that's their personality traits. Oftentimes authors are going to describe characters to show you who they are and what their point of view is. There are other ways that authors develop point of view. So if you have any other notes that you'd like to take, please add that into your box here. These are the ones we're going to focus on today: inner dialogue, actions, reactions, interactions, and description of characters. But feel free to look for any other ways that authors develop point of view. So what we're going to be doing is reading just this small section of text, tracking for what is the point of view that we see, whose point of view do we see, and how is our author developing it. So be aware that we are looking for two different points of view today. We're going to identify each and analyze how the author is developing that for just this short section of text. So as I read, I'm going to annotate, but feel free to annotate on your own. The dark sky, filled with angry, swirling clouds, reflected Greg Ridley's mood as he sat on the stoop of his building. His father's voice came to him again, first reading the letter the principal had sent to the house, then lecturing endlessly about his poor efforts in math. I'm going to underline this because we're understanding Greg Ridley's mood or his point of view. We're getting a description of how he's feeling. And then I'm going to underline this. His father's voice came to him again, then lecturing endlessly. Because I think that description of the father is telling us a lot about his character. I had to leave school when I was 13, his father had said. That's a year younger than you are now. If I'd had half the chances you have, once again, I'm going to underline this. I'm going to actually make a note as well. I see that the author is using dialogue. This is a conversation between Greg and his father to develop Greg's father's point of view. And what do you think Greg's father's point of view is here? How is he feeling, or what does he think? I'd say a strong word for me is disappointed. He's disappointed in Greg's efforts, and he feels like he would have taken advantage of these efforts, of these opportunities, had he had them. Greg sat in the small, pale green kitchen, listening, knowing the lecture would end with his father saying he couldn't play ball with the Scorpions. He had asked his father the week before, and his father had said it depended on his next report card. It wasn't often the Scorpions took on new players, especially 14-year-olds, and this was a chance of a lifetime for Greg. He hadn't been allowed to play high school ball, which he had really wanted to do, but playing for the community center team was the next best thing. Report cards were due in a week, and Greg had been hoping for the best. But the principal had ended the suspense early when she sent the letter saying Greg would probably fail math if he didn't spend more time studying. I'm going to underline this here because this is showing how Greg is feeling about the situation. And I'm going to do this, had been hoping for the best as well. And what strategy is our author using mostly here? I'd say it's inner dialogue. Because Greg is showing us kind of that he, to develop Greg's point of view. And I would say Greg's point of view was sort of hopeful that he was going to be able to play, but also, and hopeful because this is a chance of a lifetime for him. But he's also, I'm going to say, disappointed. He's pretty disappointed with what his father's saying and the fact that he can't play basketball. And you want to play basketball? His father's brows knitted over deep brown eyes. That must be some kind of joke. Now you just get into your room and hit those books. I'm going to underline this. Obviously, we're seeing more dialogue from his father here in the way he's interacting with Greg. But I'm also going to show that this is some description of his father. And again, I'm going to say that this is showing that he's angry. When somebody's brows are knitted, it means that they're sort of going together in an angry way. That's what I'm picturing in my head. So we're looking at 2 points of view here. We're looking at Greg, and we're looking at Greg's father. Now, what we want to do is not just identify who it is, but what is their point of view. So what we have here is that Greg is disappointed because he was hopeful that he would be able to play. Scorpions. I spelled that wrong, huh? Scorpions. Sorry. So that's Greg's point of view. He's disappointed because he wanted to play basketball with the Scorpions, but he's obviously not able to because of his grades. Now, the way that this is developed, obviously his inner dialogue is a big one. But I would also say his reactions, because this is him reacting to what his father's saying. Even though he's not saying anything back, we are getting his reactions in what he's thinking. So those are the 2 biggest strategies that I'd see for Greg's point of view being developed here. Now, take a second and I want you to fill in Greg's father's point of view and how it's developed. So if you have something close to this, Greg's father is disappointed in his son's grades because, now thinking about why he's disappointed, he's not just disappointed because his son is doing badly, but he's disappointed because he wants his son to have a better life. And I know that because of what he says about the opportunities that Greg has. Now, his point of view is developed through dialogue and description, which we already have underlined. Now, you're going to go ahead and continue reading and annotating